Honestly, the best way to improve your fantasy team is definitely making trades, man. And I know a lot of people don't want to make trades. A lot of people are hesitant, especially in like seasonal leagues or season long leagues. People just don't want to give up the players that they drafted, right? Like they stick to them, they think they can improve. But if you can get that right manager, that right person who's just shit enough, who's 0-6, 1-5, and he's desperate and he's in the dumps and his players are bad, that's a dude you can take advantage of, man. And in this video, I'm going to give you guys some of my favorite trade targets. These are dudes that you should be trying to trade for now before week 7, because I do think they're going to be able to turn it around. At the end of the day, man, it's fucking simple. It's dudes that are not performing that we think could turn it around. But I'm going to give you my favorite ones, bro. So in this video, we're going to go through it, man. And I don't want to waste any more time. Let's hop into the first player, and it is Mike Evans. Now, this one's not really that much of a buy low because people who own Mike Evans know what he's capable of, and they know that he can probably turn it around. But if you have a desperate manager in your league, we do see that Mike Evans is really kind of boom or bust, right? So in the weeks that he does well, he'll get you like 19, 20 fantasy points, look really involved. But in the weeks he doesn't do well, which is any game against the fucking Saints in his entire career, that's a game that we can take advantage, right? And if there's an owner who's like I said, 1-5, 1-6, whatever, they might not be able to stick with a guy like Evans who is so boomer bust. So that's why you might be able to take him off their hands. At the end of the day, bro, the Bucks scored 50 plus points, 51 points, and he only had 4 fantasy points, dude. I know he didn't play a lot, but there's a couple of stats we need to go over. So 40% plus of the air yards for New Orleans, despite the fact that he briefly left that game. So he had most of the air yards for the Bucks, even though that's only 6 targets. They were just running the ball down the throats of the Saints like the entire second half. So when the game was close, Evans got a lot of air yards, bro, which is essentially like what you want in a fantasy player. And on the season, he's got 45.1% of the team's air yards. Chris Godwin is the low average depth of target player on the team. He's like the slot player. So he's going to get a lot of the like shorter depth routes and be able to work after the catch. Mike Evans is going to get a lot of like the downfield throws. So that's kind of the reason he's a little boomer bust. He doesn't really have that safety net of like underneath routes to like, blanket his fantasy production, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think this team is playing well enough. Baker Mayfield's playing really great, dude. Like I got to give the man credit. The Buccaneers are a good team, bro. They're an actual good team. Baker Mayfield is actually a good quarterback. Not that great throwing the ball downfield. He was actually really poor throwing the ball downfield this last game, but we know he can do it. We know he's capable of it. So let's look at. Oh, this is a super funny stat that I saw, dude. Alan Lazar in 2024, 26 receptions for 354 yards and 5 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 25 receptions for 310 yards and 5 touchdowns. So almost like Alan Lazar is actually outperforming this man on the season, bro, which is actually insane. But that's obviously going to change for Lazar moving forward. I souped this graphic from fantasycalc.com. It's essentially a site where you can look up current trades that have happened in different leagues throughout, different fantasy leagues. You can set like metrics, whether you want like full point PPR, 12-man team, 10-man. So I just kept this to 1 QB, 10 or 12-man team leagues, normal tight end scoring. And I looked at some of these trades, bro. We're going to go through some of them. I did this for all the players, so keep that in mind. So this first one up here, you got Mike Evans, Jacob Dobbins for Jamar Chase. I actually prefer the Jamar Chase side on that. At the end of the day, you're getting the best, a top 3 player in fantasy football. But looking down at some of these other trades where I do like the Mike Evans side, Evans for Ayuk and Stevenson. I like the Evans side. I just think you want to get off a player like Ayuk, who, if Mike Evans is boom or bust, Ayuk is like, he's boom or like he's not doing shit for you in the games that he busts, right? That's just the nature of the 49ers. So I like that. Even though you're giving up Stevenson, that's a guy that you can't really start some weeks. So Mike Evans for Keenan and Chuba. We're expecting him to kind of lose his job as soon as Brooks comes back. Maybe not. This could be a risky trade to make, but Chuba is the perfect type of player to trade away right now because you know that the dudes who are trading for him, they're expecting to get a couple more good weeks out of Chuba until he's useless or until he's in a committee, right? So you can trade him away now. Like you can't trade him away when Brooks is back. He's going to have no value. So that's like the type of trade you want to make. Evans and Khalil Shakir for Connor and Watson. I like that Evans side. Even though you're giving up an RB and a pretty decent wide receiver in Watson, you're getting like the better player. You're getting a guy like Mike Evans who can like, Mike Evans is capable of getting like 40 fantasy points in a week, right? I don't think Connor and Watson are capable of that. like Watson is, but not in the current structure of the Packers. Evans and Chubb for Tyreek. I like the Evans side just because of the upside there with Chubb. Like the unknown of Chubb kind of excites me a little, especially with how bad the Browns are. And then yeah, we'll move through these a little bit quicker. Irving, Evans, and T. Higgins for Tyreek and Devon Achane. You're getting 3 starters that you can start all year for 2, even though the side with the 2 have the 2 better players. I'm pretty excited about T. Higgins, especially if he does get traded. I called this one an even trade just based on what you like. Do you like having depth or do you like having top heavy, but injury risk? So Evans and Tucker Craft for Chase and Nakua, for Chase Brown and Nakua. That's pretty even to me. If you need a tight end, you go this side. If you need a running back, you go that side. And you get, Mike Evans now. You don't have to wait for Puka. So moving along. I mean, we don't have to cover every single trade, but basically Evans and Chuba for Eckler and Zay Flowers. Perfect type of trade. You're upgrading from Flowers to Mike Evans. And honestly, you're upgrading from Eckler to Chuba in the short term. Obviously, Eckler will probably be more useful season long. Moving on to the next player, it's going to be Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed's a tough one to get, bro. I don't know if you can trade for him, but if you can, if the owner of Jayden Reed is struggling, down bad, needs some depth, Jayden Reed's the type of dude that I do want to target. Basically, pretend that weeks 2 and 3 don't exist. Malik Willis was starting those games, so I just take those out of my memory bank. And outside of that, bro, 31 fantasy points, 23 fantasy points, 11 and 11. Now, the 2 11s back to back in the last couple weeks is why he's a good fantasy trade target. So, this is an interesting stat. He's the wide receiver 4 on the year, despite ranking 42nd in targets, bro. He does not get a lot of targets. He only cleared 6 targets one time this year. But Jayden Reed just does so much with the targets that he does get, bro. He is such a dynamic yards after the catch type player. Here is kind of where he stands like historically, which is kind of a very interesting chart. It's basically fantasy points per target, right? So these are like Randy Moss 2007 didn't get a lot of targets, but the man was an absolute beast, bro. 3.93 per target, had that, incredible season, scored 385 fantasy points, insane. Looking down the list, we see Jayden Reed at 27th all time, um, which is, I don't know if that's something we necessarily want, but it's something that when we see it and we have it, we're okay with it. Meaning, of course, you want a dude who's a volume hog because he's going to be less boom or bust. But listen, if he's going to be efficient with the touches he does get, then we're happy with it, right? At least he's outperforming his ADP easily. We're going to check out this touchdown. I want to show you guys kind of how this route develops and why I'm excited about Reed moving forward. Let me just make sure it's not too loud. Full screen it. So check out this route, bro. I want to show you how they scheme Reed open. So Reed's number 11. They move, I think that's Bo Melton. Bo Melton starts on the far right. So this is Bo Melton, I believe, and this is Reed here in the slot, number 11. Watch how this entire play is basically for Reed to get open. So they're going to move Bo Melton. He's going to run this simple crosser and go to the left, bring the safety over with him on the cross. The safety has to basically make a decision here. He has to say, do I want to move up and pick up Bo Melton, who's moving to the left, or do I want to pick up Reed, who's crossing to the right? So check this out. So Jordan Love kind of has an option here. Where does the safety go? The safety kind of just stands there, so Reed is wide open underneath. And to me, the play was for Jayden Reed all along because, even if the safety does come with him, he has to beat Reed to that spot. Check it out again. So this safety has to move. He doesn't. Looks like they're playing zone defense there. And against the zone, picked apart. That's what you like to see, man. I like the fact that Jayden Reed is used a lot in the intermediate and short where he can really play after the catch. Here's a dope chart that I saw. It's basically average separation versus yards per route run. Those are 2 metrics to determine individual skill. If we want to see how good a player is in a vacuum, it's how are they separating from the defenders? That's just going to tell us who's a good separator. And then yards per route run, meaning forget volume, forget what team they're on, or forget game flow or game script. How many yards are they getting per route run, not per volume? So that's a good one. Guys up here in this top right, perfect, great separation, great yards per route run. Nico in a fucking, in a universe of his own. But right over here, we have Jayden Reed. I'm going to zoom in a little. That was a bad idea. All right, we got Jayden Reed over here among the likes of like Justin Jefferson, Rashi Rice, Juwan Jennings. Probably that 1 week helped him. Keep in mind, just side note, a couple other players that would make for good trade targets, in my opinion. You got Tutu, you got Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Jameson Williams. Obviously, it's going to be tough to trade for Chase and Malik or Jefferson. But Nico, bro, if you can go grab Nico right now, who's on the mend from maybe an owner who's pretty desperate, I would consider it. So that's Jayden Reed, bro. Next player is George Pickens. George Pickens has been a mainstay on this fucking video, dude, every week. So this is how it feels starting Pickens, bro. You're just like you're dealing with the struggle, man. You are just in the dumps, starting Pickens every week. I don't know how much longer I can do this. You're holding on for dear life, bro. But basically, he's had a brutal start to the season. His strength of schedule was one of the toughest in the NFL. It was the toughest, I think, ranked like 30th in the NFL or something like that. So, and he gets Sauce Gardner this week. They do play against the Jets in week 7, so should be another week. You might want to wait one more week and then trade for Pickens. But the reason I'm excited this week, even with Sauce Gardner on the docket, Russell Wilson was taking first team reps. So Russell Wilson might be starting this week for the Steelers. Don't really understand the move, but I'm not in the business of talking about, team decisions. This is a fantasy football video. So with Russell Wilson stepping into the QB job, that's good for Pickens, who is an outside wide receiver. Russell Wilson's kind of only forte at this point in his career is throwing deep. So that's something that we do like about Pickens and about the Steelers moving forward. And he does have the number one easiest strength of schedule for this regular season and the fantasy playoffs moving forward. So again, we picked up some trades to look at to show you guys kind of what's possible. Daniel Jones, Dameon Pierce, and Pickens for Baker, easy in a 1 QB league. You're getting basically Pickens for free because you could just pick up another QB to start over Baker, play those matchups. Pickens for Bigsby straight up. Again, if you're wide receiver needy, maybe you want the Pickens side. If you're RB needy, maybe the Bigsby side. Cooper, Pickens, and James Cook for Saquon. Easy this side, in my opinion. Cooper and Pickens alone could be like wide receiver 2's rest of the season, and you're getting like a low end RB1 and James Cook. And all you're giving up is, okay, maybe the RB1 in fantasy, but you're getting 3 startable assets for that. That's easy. Give me this left side, right? Pickens for Mooney and Wandale, easy Pickens. Just Mooney and Wandale are going to be too inconsistent. They're not going to be like week winners. Moving it along, bro. Pickens for Javonte Williams. Pickens all day. Williams might not even have a job soon. Pollard, Madison, Pickens for Wilson and Miller. This is basically you're giving up Wilson, who could be on the downtrend, and you're getting basically 2 startable running backs plus Pickens, who might actually like match Wilson rest of the season. I really do believe that. So these are the types of trades I'll be making, bro. Like Wilson, if the owner of Wilson still views him as a wide receiver 1, a bona fide guy that's been pretty good the last couple weeks, then you could get like, look at this dude getting Pollard as like he's an RB1, bro. He's a top 15 RB rest of the season, right? So Pickens for Rico. This is just preference. I love Rico. Rico's going to be on this list moving on. But next guy on my trade targets is Brian Robinson. I've been high on Brian Robinson all fucking year, dude. Preseason, I said he's going to be top 12. Seal of the draft. He was looking great, bro. Gets the knee injury in week 6. It was a tough matchup either way. Somebody that I would have considered even sitting in week 6 if you had better options, obviously. But before that, he didn't score less than 10 fantasy points. In the week where he did score only 10 fantasy points, it could be explained, right? It was a tough game against the Bengals. They ended up winning the game, but there's not a lot of room to run in that game. They didn't really give him the type of volume that they probably wanted to. Didn't really get any receptions, but in any case, the Commanders are great, bro, and they want to run the ball. Brian Robinson's crucial to that plan. And the Commanders as a team are second in running plays per game. So they run the ball, more than almost everyone in the NFL. Here are some trades regarding Brian Robinson, or including Brian Robinson. Deontay Johnson and Jacoby for Brian. If you need a running back, I love that. Deontay Johnson could get traded, so we don't know if he's going to be as good as he's been. It could be better, right, if he gets traded to like the Chiefs, but you never know. Brian Thomas, Debo, and Brian Robinson for Bijan Romeo Dubs. Easy on this left side. Basically, Bijan Robinson might not even be the best Robinson in this trade. So that's you're basically getting Debo and Brian Thomas for free. DK Metcalf and there's too many players. We'll move on. Jonathan Taylor for Jacoby and Brian Robinson. I actually like the Taylor side here. You're basically tearing up from Brian Robinson to Taylor, who's like a top 5 RB rest of the season once he's healthy. Brian Robinson for Keon Coleman and Chuba. I like the Brian Robinson side. You're getting a mainstay rest of season perma starter for Chuba, who might be playing better than Brian Robinson now, but obviously could lose his job. Brian Robinson for J.K. Dobbins. I love that. Just, I think I trust the Commanders' offense as a whole more than the Chargers. Even though the Chargers have a great O-line and want to run the ball, J.K. Dobbins could be stuck in a little bit of a two-man committee if Vidal continues to get work. But this one's kind of a wash. This is really just preference. Down here, Chris Godwin and Brian Robinson for Mike Evans, Cooper, and Mason. I like the Chris Godwin side. I think Chris Godwin outscores Evans rest of season. And I do think that Jordan Mason has a shelf life. So Amari Cooper in this trade kind of makes it tough where it's like, damn, Evans and Cooper are 2 bona fide starters rest of season. It's kind of tough to give that up, but I just think Brian Robinson has a ceiling, bro. Just with how good this Commanders team looked, they almost beat the Ravens, bro. And he's coming back. They sat him out. He was able to get healthy. I think rest of the season, Brian Robinson's going to be great. Next player on the list is Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, dude, this is a tough one because he was ascending, bro. He was really trending up in weeks 4 and 5. Ezekiel Elliott then fucking complains like a pussy. And they give him all this work, bro. They give Ezekiel Elliott a bunch of work early in the game. He looked like my uncle out there, bro. He looked like the worst running back in the NFL. They forced Zeke in. Just look at Zeke's game logs, bro. Like, he hasn't cleared 4 yards per carry since week 1. The work he does get, it leads to, bro, there's this funny ass meme. It's like, Ezekiel Elliott, you need 1 yard, I'll get you 3. You need 5 yards, I'll get you 3. He's so bad, bro. I don't know why they went away from Rico Dowdle. But basically, they got this week 7 bye week, right? And I think they emerged from the bye week with Dowdle in a workhorse role. Not just the majority of the timeshare. I think they moved to Dowdle as a workhorse. I really do believe that. Don't ask me why, but this is your last chance to get him. Mike McCarthy did say after that game against Detroit where they got absolutely housed, he definitely needs to touch the ball more without a doubt. And this is according to Coach Speak Index. He has an 80% reliability rating on usage workload. Coach Speak, as I mentioned, bro, I think he's going to be a workhorse coming out of the bye. They realize that Zeke is absolutely cooked. He's toast. He's a burnt piece of toast on he's cooked, bro. So moving down, we'll look at some of the trades. Dowdle for Gabe Davis and Rashad White. Easy Dowdle. Just Gabe Davis and Rashad White are not really playable. Caleb Williams and Dowdle for Trevor Lawrence and Najee. I do think Rico Dowdle is a better running back rest of the season than Najee. And then Caleb and Trevor Lawrence, probably a wash there. Marvin Harrison Jr., Hopkins, and Rico for Tyrone, Tracy, Keenan, and Jackson Smith. This is easy. You're getting, in my opinion, the 2 best players in this trade in Dowdle and Marvin Harrison. Moss and Dowdle for Khalil Shakir. Yeah, this one's pretty easy. I mean, Zach Moss is kind of useless rest of the season, but so is Shakir, right? So you're getting Dowdle for free. Najee for Rico, I already talked about that. Give me Rico rest of the season. Rico for Jordan Addison. Give me Rico. I mean, if you need a wide receiver, that's an interesting one. I just don't know what Addison's role is going to be. He had that 1 week where he was really good, and then the second week where he was bad. So I don't really know what to say there. There's too many players here. Fields and Dowdle for Baker. I love it, dude. Baker and Justin Fields. Maybe now that Russ is starting, this one's a little bit tough, but in a 1 QB league, I'm okay giving up Baker. I'm okay giving up Baker and getting a guy like Rico for free. Then you can pick up somebody from the waiver wire, play the matchups, stream QBs every week. So if you could do those types of trades where you're giving up a quarterback that's really performing well, getting a running back plus a worse quarterback in return, those are the types of trades that I do like making. Like tearing down at QB, but getting a free running back. So those are the players, man. That's the list. Hope you guys like this list, but I hope you liked this video. If you did, a like is the best way to support the channel. And if you're new here, bro, hit me up with a subscribe if you want to catch more of my content moving forward. Hit that notification bell. You will get it directly to your phone notifications or to your inbox. I don't know how the fuck it works. And you will catch my videos as I publish them. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.